This video is sponsored by Skillshare. So this is the iPhone 7, as I'm sure most of you are aware. I'm also sure that most of you also know that this thing is kind of old. Like, it was released towards the end of 2016. I'm sure most of you also remember that it was initially pretty divisive because it dropped the headphone jack and the physical button, but those are now pretty much standard, and I still find myself coming back to this thing even in 2022. But why? Well, let's talk about that. The first reason as to why I still use the iPhone 7 to this day is because, well, I can. It's still supported. And by the way, this is for weeks at a time typically. It's never just a few days. The iPhone 7 is still fully supported by iOS for now, so I really do want to make the most out of this phone while I still can. I'll also personally never sell this phone, for reasons we'll get into in a little bit, and because it is still usable, I occasionally do like to take a break from all the flashy new tech that's available on the market and just come back to this. The second reason leads into this. Because of what I do here on YouTube, I do have the opportunity to try lots of the newest, flashiest tech, but sometimes to truly appreciate it, I kind of think you need to look at where that technology came from and where it started. It's also not a good idea to get too caught up in new features, to the fact that you forget that other less expensive and less flashy features do get the job done. And by doing this way, I will be less likely to write off something because it has like Touch ID or just one camera. Using this iPhone 7 helps me stay aware of lots of different types of phones, which is, well, kind of important for me. The next reason is another thing to do with reviewing phones, but this time it's from an entirely different angle. I like to consider where everybody could be coming from when I'm writing one of my reviews. So if I'm saying, for example, the iPhone 11 Pro isn't a good upgrade because I assume that everybody's going to be coming from an iPhone 11, that's going to be a little bit of a blind spot. However, if I use literally one of the oldest supported Apple devices, like this iPhone 7, I can consider from all points which phone is suitable for who. Like, a lot of people do still use the iPhone 7. I mean, the market's flooded with them. They're super cheap. Like, a lot of people will buy this as like a first phone for a younger relative or just like a backup iPhone. So I do like to bring this thing out every now and then and just spend a few weeks with it, and I usually find that it's totally fine. Before we go any further though, I do want to take a quick moment to thank this video's sponsor, Skillshare. Skillshare is an online learning community with thousands of inspiring classes for anyone who loves learning and wants to explore their creativity and learn new skills. When I initially joined Skillshare, I quickly found out there was tons of different excellent classes. Your day-to-day is filled with tasks and endless to-do lists, so prioritize your self-care and well-being by using Skillshare as a way to invest in yourself, unwind, and relax. Classes like the Ultimate Self-Care Playbook by Jonathan Van Ness, Plants at Home by Plank Queen, and Writing for Self-Discovery will help you recenter after a hectic week. I personally both really enjoyed and recommend the Ultimate Self-Care Playbook by Jonathan Van Ness, as it's helped me drastically improve my self-care, given me new ways to relax, and added a huge amount of value to my life. Skillshare is ad-free, so you can stay in the zone while you're exploring your new skills. There's new premium classes launched every week, so there's always something new to discover, and the entire catalogue is now available with subtitles in French, Spanish, Portuguese, and German. And to make that even better, the first 1,000 people to use the link in the description will get a 1-month free trial of Skillshare. Once again, a huge thank you to Skillshare for sponsoring this video. Check them out in the link in the description. Next up, building on something I said earlier, using a piece of technology this old and with this many frustrations can really help put newer tech into perspective. Well, it's not good to be soft on new technology, especially when you consider its price point. It is good to have a little bit of perspective and realize that, as I said, a lot of people are going to be upgrading from phones like this. And so knowing how a new piece of technology compares to an older piece of technology, for example, did they fix that hardware issue? Are the speakers better? Is the selfie camera any better than it was? Or is it just my mind playing tricks on me due to the enormous price tag of new phones? These are all things I consider when I'm reviewing phones. And so going back to an old piece of technology that's barely still in support can be very helpful in giving you that extra bit of perspective. As I'm sure it's clear at this point, I like to use the iPhone 7 for that because it's not only a realistic example, it's also not gonna suck for me to have to do because, as I said, I really like the iPhone 7. And the final reason as to why I personally do still use the iPhone 7 in 2022 is because this specific iPhone 7 was my first iPhone. It was the iPhone 7 that helped me realize that I actually really enjoyed reviewing phones. When I first reviewed the iPhone 7, I received support like I'd never known before before on YouTube, and so I do like to come back to this occasionally just for sentimental reasons. I think often people do forget that technology can be a sentimental thing. Like, we carry these things with us throughout so much of our daily lives. For me, whenever I pick this thing up, it reminds me of when I first got it, virtually tore it out of the box, and immediately texted my friends to say, hey, guess what? I've got an iPhone now too. Not saying I was peer pressured into it, but I did buy this thing at the height of Twitter for Android, so maybe I was. Worth it. I remember being truly amazed with how sharp the camera was and how well the files edited in Snapseed. I remember that day taking a picture of the donut I bought. I remember the first case. I remember taking this thing on holiday with me to Portugal. I remember dropping it on my balcony in Portugal and breaking the screen. I remember repairing the screen. These are all memories that I have with this iPhone 7. And while it is easy to get caught up in the hype of the newest tech on the market, honestly, I do like to occasionally just sit back and think about the different pieces of technology like the iPhone 7, the Panasonic G7, and the Nintendo DS that really helped me figure out what I liked about technology, and maybe along the way some pieces that helped me figure out what I don't like about technology. Never gonna let it go. And of course, while it is kinda daft to get attached to a piece of technology, especially if you are someone who upgrades rather frequently, that does just mean you're gonna get a drawer full of phones that you don't use. This iPhone 7 is truly special to me. And honestly, that's still probably the main reason as to why I find myself going back to it this many years into its support cycle. That said though, unfortunately, this will be the last year that I use this phone, especially as my on and off phone that I like to go back to. I do still think it's important to be using tech while it is in its support cycle, and so seeing as the iPhone 7 unfortunately isn't getting iOS 16, this will have to be the last year that I'm using the iPhone 7. Next year, the iPhone 8 will be my occasionally phone, so I'm going to enjoy this thing while it lasts, and after that, who knows? Might actually get this thing framed. Alright guys, so that's it for today. I hope you've enjoyed this one. Let me know, by the way, which phone personally holds the most value to you? Was it your first phone? Was it your first Android? Was it your first iPhone? Feel free to let me know in the comments. I always enjoy reading those. As for now though, as always, thank you for watching. Remember to like the video if you want to see more content like this, then smash that subscribe button. I'm done for now, and I'll see you guys in the next one.